Hi, everybody, and welcome to the finals debate in the Advanced/Mastery division. On the proposition side, we have Devik, Arnav, and Brian, and on the opposition side, we have Shubh, Vaishant, and Vedant. These teams have put in so much effort to get to this point, and let's celebrate them by giving them their undivided attention in the final debate for the topic that the USFG investing in a moon base will do more harm than good. First up, I invite the first proposition speaker, who is Devik. So, David, when you're ready, take it away.
Before I start my speech, I would like to start off with an off-time roadmap. I will state when I start my time, and first I will go over my definitions and then the weighing mechanism of this debate. Then I will state my contentions. My time starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, Judge. My name is Devik Sharma, and I'm the first speaker for the proposition side. Today's debate is about why the U.S. building a moon base will do more harm than good. First, I will go over my weighing mechanism. The weighing mechanism for this debate is net benefits, the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people. Now I will go over my definitions. A moon base is a facility on the moon that allows human activity on the moon. So far, missions on the moon have only been recognized as temporary base missions, but the U.S. wants to make a mandatory one over there. And now I will go over my contentions. My first contention is that it costs a lot of money. Space exploration needs a lot of money to go into. You need money for the rocket, the fuel, the engineers to make the code, to code the rocket, and you need to actually build the moon base. This would cost millions, if not billions of dollars. We could be using this money to stop climate change and homelessness back on Earth, instead of building a moon base back on the moon, when we don't exactly need a moon because we have other options to live on. If living on the Earth becomes difficult. Slate.com writes, moon-based nonsense may for decades divert NASA resources from the agency's legitimate missions, draining funding from real needs in order to construct human history's silliest white elephant. GoBankingRates.com says costs $18 million to $160,000 per day are used to supply 2 to 4 gallons a day of water to sustain human life, and it would cost a lot. The weight of a gallon of water is 8.34 pounds, meaning that cost to transport it to the moon to sustain a single person would be around $80,000 to $160,000 a day, which would be between $30 million to $60 million a year. Also, according to MarketWatch.com, they say that reaching the moon would cost about $10 billion, estimating range from $7 billion to $13 billion, with an additional $28 billion to $52 billion being spent on the construction of the base-related structure. That is considerably less than a previous price of $100+ billion when technology was less advanced and more expensive. But put the cost in perspective. One U.S. aircraft carrier has the price of $13 billion. That is a huge difference compared to a moon base. For comparison, the International Space Station costs more than $150 billion U.S. money-wise. Now, that may not sound all that expensive, but consider this. NASA's entirely yearly budget is usually less than $20 billion. The agency would likely have to spend more than that any year just on a moon-based project, and would have to cut either all other projects which they are working on, or Congress would have to increase the budget by that amount. The odds of contracts of funding at NASA for such missions, as well as the science, it could be doing or not good. Now we'll go over my impact. If we have a moon base, we won't be focusing on other problems on Earth, like climate change and homelessness. If we don't help with climate change, then millions of sea and land animals will die, and ocean levels will rise. If millions of sea and land animals die, then the ecosystem will not be stable. This will lead us to not having a stable meets food source. If the ocean levels rise, then we will have a greater chance of having natural disasters. And then multiple people can die and many islands can flood. We don't if we don't help also people, if people are homeless, they won't get enough money to survive, which can cause them to not have the regular necessities to live, and they will die soon. Do you want multiple people to die? Probably not. So this is why you should vote for the proposition side. The probability is high because NASA is already starting preparations to go to the moon. The magnitude is high because millions of, not billions of people can die due to climate change and homelessness. Thank you, Jin, and this is why you should vote for the proposition side. Thank you.
All right, congratulations to the proposition first speaker for a well-reasoned speech. Next, we have Shu, who's the first speaker on the opposition side of this debate. Shu, take it away when you're ready.
Okay, so Judge, I'll first start off with an off-time roadmap. So I will first introduce myself, and then we agree to their definitions, and then I will refute the opponent's points and then move on to my own contentions. My time starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, Judge. My name is Shub, and I'm the first opposition speaker for the topic, the U.S. building a moon base does more harm than good. Now, I say again that we agreed to their definitions, and now I will refute the opponent's points. The proposition is saying that it will cost a lot of money, but the benefits completely outweigh the costs. The benefits are so helpful, they help the USA win the space race against Russia, which is going to bring more money into the economy. This doesn't lose us money but it gains us money. Now I will move on to my own contentions. My first contention is finding new sources of energy. We are polluting so much and we can't find any new practical solutions that will help. Where do we turn to? We turn to space. In doing so, we can help humanity. So we will have to build a moon base in order to be able to find sustainable energy sources that will help preserve humanity for as long as possible. Therefore, I'll take it at the end.
Okay.
Therefore, if we find sustainable energy sources, we can find solutions to problems like climate change and pollution by finding new energy sources to lessen toxic waste. This way, people can live happier. According to Eureka, soil on the moon contains active compounds that can convert carbon dioxide into oxygen and fuels. Scientists in China report May 5th in the journal Zhou that they are now exploring whether lunar resources can be used to facilitate human exploration on the moon or beyond. Nijing University materials scientists Yifeng Yao and Xingjiang Zhao hope to design a system that takes advantage of lunar soil and solar radiation, the two most abundant resources on the moon. After analyzing the lunar soil brought back by China's Zhangzi's 5 spacecraft, their team could work as a catalyst to make desired products such as oxygen using sunlight and carbon dioxide. My source is eurekalet.org. If we build a moon base and find sustainable energy source in space, then we can use spacecraft to mine the material in order to bring it back to Earth. Next, we can input into cars and other modes of transport for people to use in the US. If we do this, the amount of pollution will lessen on account of people using cars that require gas less. On account of this, climate change will lessen in the Arctic and Antarctic will stop melting. Now people can find new ways to use these material in different ways that will be beneficial to Earth. This way the environment will become better, the quality of life and standard life will increase, and so will the economy. My second contention is improve search for extraterrestrial life. If we have a moon base, it will be easier for people to travel through space. Also, from here, they can search for other signs of life better because they can look further into space for signs of aliens. If they do this, we can solve problems like overpopulation and also long-term problems like where to go to after the sun dies out. If we can solve these problems, then the preservation of humanity will increase and our species can adapt to life in space. This way, people can survive and live their lives. My evidence is that the Scientific American states that the opportunity to discover signs of extraterrestrial life provides a new scientific initiative for substantial base on the lunar surface. The the moon is well known for its romantic appeal, but as astrobiology offers a twist of on this notion. Here's hoping that the moon will inform our civilization that we are not alone and that someone else is waiting for us out there. My source is blog.scientificamerican.com. If we are able to use a moon base, we can use it to find alien life forms and learn how they survived on their planet and use that to our knowledge. This indicates that we can bring humans onto those planets and teach them how to survive there. This solves the problem of overpopulation, which means that humans can live happier in their respective planets. This knowledge also helps in the long run because once the sun dies out, we need to find a new planet to live on. If we already know of the intelligent life on other planets, we can travel to them and live there, so we can live happier. Also, with the new homes and resources, we can use them to innovate and find new technology that will be extremely beneficial. Thank you, Judge, for listening to my speech. I strongly urge you to vote for the opposition ballot.
Wait. I didn't get to say my POI. Is that
Oh, yeah. What was your PI?
so? When you say that they have found compounds on the moon which can help in solar energy and all, are there any specific ones and have they tested them? You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. They, um, I don't know, like right now situation, but they probably are testing it right now. So if they aren't, they probably are in the future. Not, yeah, they probably are gonna do it in the future.
Okay, we have to stop your speech there, but thank you and congratulations to the first opposition speaker for a well-reasoned speech. Next up, we have the second proposition speaker for this debate, which is going to be Arnav. Arnav, whenever you're ready, take it away, please.
I would like to say that as I am starting off with an off-time roadmap, I will state when I start my time. First, I will go over feuds of this debate, then I will go on my contentions. My time starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Arnav, and I'm the second speaker on the proposition side of the debate. First, I will go over feuds. Why does it matter if the US wins the space race? Plus, the more time we don't worry about climate change and homelessness, the more it will affect us. This could kill millions, if not billions, of people. By the time we bring this lunar dust back or to do research with it, we will already be too late, causing thousands of people to die. Plus, you said the carbon dioxide will lower, but one rocket gives out a lot of carbon dioxide, worsening global warming. And why does it matter if we find aliens? It doesn't help us right now. The sun will die out in billions of years. We don't. I'll take that at the end of the speech. The sun will not die out in billions of years, or we can work on this problem later. Right now, we need to work on solving climate change. What will this new technology do? Right now, we need to be focusing on the present day. And first, I'll go on to my first contention. Assertion, unhealthy for astronauts. Astronauts can get a fever called lunar hay fever from the moon dust. This can happen to a lot lot more astronauts that go to the moon. And when they come back, we could be dealing with a whole new disease in our already crippled nation. This could lead to less money spent on global warming, climate change, and homelessness because we need to stop the virus. Plus, if we have a lunar colony, it could easily transport from one person to another in a closed area like a moon base. This could potentially kill every last astronaut on the moon base. There's another galactic cosmic rays are another big problem. They would batter lunar people with high radiation. Also, astronauts can get hit by solar flares and clouds of plasma. This could kill astronauts even in their protective spacesuits. The low gravity could destroy bones, muscles, and organs. Now I'll go over my evidence. ScientificAmerican.com says on August 4th, 1972, the sun unleashed an incandescent whip of energy from its surface and flung it toward the planets. It was accompanied by a seething cloud of plasma called a coronal mass ejection, which traversed the nearly 150 kilometers between the sun and Earth in just more than half a day. Still the fastest known arrival for such outbursts to briefly bathe our planet in cosmic fire. The astronauts of Apollo 16 had been home about 3 months from their lunar foray, and those of Apollo 17 were still preparing for their December launch. The fact that the solar outburst happened between the penultimate and final crewed moon missions was simply a matter of chance. If the members of either crew had been in space during the solar storm, especially if they had been traversing the portion of insular region between Earth and the moon that lies outside the magnetosphere, they would have been exposed to a potentially deadly dose of radiation. Now I will go on to my impact. If we have a moon base, we won't be focusing on other problems like climate change and homelessness. If we don't help with climate change, then millions of sea and land animals will die, and ocean levels will rise. If millions of sea and land animals die, then the ecosystem will not be stable. This will lead to us not having a stable meat food source. If the ocean levels rise, then we would have a great chance of natural disaster. If this happens, then multiple people can die. Also, islands could be flooded, causing even more people to die. Plus, there's homelessness that we need to work out. Thousands of people can die because they're not getting food or water. Now I'll go on to my next contention. Climate change. We will need multiple rockets to go to the moon and come back. These rockets will be loaded with building material, people, and food. People might say that we could build a space garden. We can in the future, but right now, space garden technology is not in use and is not ready to use. We would have to ship rockets to the moon base with food every month. Plus, the moon is about 384,000 kilometers away. You would need a lot of rocket fuel to get to the moon. Going every month to deliver food would definitely increase the process of climate change. Space.com says, however, there is a big difference between a short trip and building a space station on the moon, which is extremely difficult. One way to do it would be to build it in pieces on Earth, take the pieces to the moon, and assemble there. It would be like how the International Space Station was built. Pieces were taken into space and put together by astronauts aboard the space shuttle. Space.com also says scientists worry that growing numbers of rocket flights and the rise of space tourism could harm Earth's atmosphere and contribute to climate change. According to Dallas Kabuski, principal at the space consultancy Northern Sky Research, a single Virgin Galactic suborbital space tourism flight lasting about an hour and a half can generate as much pollution as a 10-hour transatlantic flight. Some scientists consider that disconcerting in light of Virgin Galactic's ambitions to fly paying tourists to the edge of space several times a day. Now I will go into my impact. If we have a moon base, we won't be helping fix climate change.
Arnav, I'm gonna have to stop you there. 5 minutes and 15 seconds is the deadline. So congratulations to Arnav for a very well presented speech. Now I'd like to present Vedant, who is the second speaker on the opposition side.
Okay, so first I'd like to present an off-time roadmap of what I will present. So first I'll go over some counter-refutes, then I'll go over some refutes. After that, I'll present my contentions. Okay, today 2, 1, and my time starts now. Hello, my name is Vedant, and I'm the second speaker for the opposition side of this debate for the resolution that the US building a moon base will do more harm than good. So they were starting off that finding extraterrestrial life is like not important at all, and that like the theory the theory doesn't exist much, and that we shouldn't be caring about it. But that is a really important thing, because as we said, as the sun dies out, then we will have to find another place to go. And just because that's a long time away, there's no hurt starting to plan from now. Also, it was their contention. It was our contention that we can find new resources of energy, but they never refuted that point of ours. Also, they had two contentions. So their first contention was saying that rocket ships will release poor environmental benefits as they release greenhouse gases. But that's not correct. NASA has a $20 billion budget. The money will have to be spent going somewhere and are going to do some time of research. Shifting the rockets from going someplace to the moon says that the same amount of greenhouse gases will be released, maybe even less, since the moon is shorter distance away from other moons and planets. And you also said that astronauts are in danger because of radiation. But astronauts are signed up for being astronauts in the first place because they know what they're getting into. The fact that we're researching more about the moon can possibly help avert these dangers.
You're right.
Yes?
So, like, if astronauts know what they're doing, shouldn't consider that they're putting their lives on their line? So, should they try to fix this issue about this disease that's happening?
Yeah, so if the astronauts take a risk and they are ready to go to the moon, that means they are going to the moon or other planets just because they want to help the US in their groundbreaking discoveries, and this can help.
Yeah, why?
No, thank you. I'll read it. So what I was saying was that the moon base is for researching, and we may not know what all of how this research can help. Example, helping astronauts. Researching can help astronauts live on the moon. Future humans will be benefited greatly by this step of researching the moon. The research will help all of the problems we have. You have to vote for the opposition because we're actually doing something about the problem. Being conservative will not help at all. NASA's here to provide this groundbreaking research to make sure the US is in the lead of the space race. Now, I will present my contentions. First, let me just start my contention. Okay, so my contention is that there are increased research capabilities. The next step in evolution is space. However, from Earth, we can't study space because of the atmosphere. Also, it's harder for us to send rockets out to space because we need to make our rockets reach a certain speed in order to leave the atmosphere because of the gravitational force. Except if we build a moon base. If we build a moon base, we can see things in space much easier from the moon, and we can also send rockets out from there much easier because there's less gravitational force. This means that we can understand space much better and use it to our advantage.
Yeah, why?
No, thank you. I already took it. The thing is that if you build a moon base, then you can go to other planets such as Mars. Also, we can reduce the amount of greenhouse gases. So my evidence. An article from Business Insider states radio interferometry antenna arrays as well as single dish antennae located on the far side of the moon could provide data with exotic phenomena in the universe. Pulsars, black holes, planetary radio emissions, and the remnants of the Big Bang. And this is just like the starting. Once we get to other planets, then we can expand our space travel so much that we'll be in the lead of the space race, and that we will have chances to go after the sun dies out. My source was Business Insider. My impact. If we can understand space and use it to our advantage, we can use it to solve problems like climate change and overpopulation. The reasoning being that we can find habitable planets for us to live, and we can also look for new energy sources for vehicles and other machines that will reduce climate change. Also, if we find habitable planets for us, we can go live on those planets when the sun dies. This means that when we can get help from new generations and help preserve humanity as we know it. This is a very big thing because we can understand space to help us learn more about how the world works and what we know about it. Not only does this help in space travel or any other things, it also helps in current day-to-day lives, such as creating medicines, and also helium-3, abundant resource found on the moon, can help in nuclear power plants, as we stated earlier, which can find a lot of energy, and that it can be brought to Earth to get energy. Thank you, and my time ends now, and I strongly urge an opposition ballot.
Okay, amazing job, Vedant. So congratulations to the opposition two speaker for a very well presented speech. Now I'd like to present Vaishant, who is the third speaker on the opposition side of today's debate. Whenever you're ready, Vaishant, take it away.
All right. My time starts in 3, 2. Hello, my name is Vaisham. US building and debate, give a PMT analysis, and then I will do a two-world analysis. So first, our first contingent was find new sources of energy. Out in space, there are so many things we don't know. If we have a moon base, though, we can research space in order to find a new long-lasting source of energy, which bring less pollution. If we can do this, people's health will live, and we can help live a sustainable environment with no health hazards that are dangerous to humans, such as places with high temperatures. Without climate change, people living there will have an easier time trying to survive and get money for their families. Our second contention was improve search for extraterrestrial life. With the moon base comes the opportunity to find new worlds with life on them. If this happens, people can study this world and bring humans onto it. If this happens, it will benefit us in the long term, as when the sun dies out, we can bring people there to that planet where life is sustainable, thus bringing in new opportunities for humanity. Our third contention was increased capabilities, increased research capabilities. Space is the next step in our evolution. However, we don't really know much about space because we are researching it from Earth. If we build a moon base, then we could provide many new research opportunities for scientists to understand what kind of environment Earth is in and how we can take advantage of it. Also, we can send rockets. It'll be much easier for people to send rockets. It'll be much easier for people to send rockets from there and also reduce climate change. Our side is bringing net benefits of the greatest amount of good to the greatest amount of people to the world with our plan because we can understand more about space. This means that we can research space to the extent where we can provide new opportunities to human like new energy sources and new homes where we can take advantage of the resources to build new technologies. Now I'll move on to my PMT analysis. Probability. We win on probability because as of now, a moon base is already being built. All the US needs to do is partner with China and Russia. This means that there is a very high chance of our impacts happening, which means there is a high chance for humanity to have a better future. We win on magnitude because, one second. We win on magnitude because, first of all, if our impacts come true, it won't just help the US citizens, it will help the world and future generations to come. Why? The reason being, space is a vast place and there are many things that we can take advantage of. If we can do that, we can improve our knowledge and create things that are beneficial to us. Not just better cars with energy sources that help the environment, but machines that will protect us, take people to places in space, and machines that will help us find resources to create more new machines that are even more beneficial. Time frame. We win on time frame because people are building a moon base right now. With the US help, they can speed up the construction and also improve their designs. This means that with a successful moon base, we can do wondrous things like researching more about space and studying stars and planets. This means we can build a bright future for humanity. Now I'll move on to a two-world analysis. In the off-world, there's a moon base and people have used it to research space and found new energy sources. Owing to this fact, people have brought it to Earth and have begun to input it into cars. So now less people are traveling in gas cars and instead are using cars that help reduce climate changes. On account of this, there are less people getting ill because of climate change, and the environment for the animals is improving. Also, people have begun to understand more about space because of the moon base, and now they are able to take advantage of it. The moon base allows us to go and probe deeper into space, and now we have found a new habitable planet that we can live on. People can live there and take advantage of its resource to create a new technology. Therefore, we are providing humankind with a better chance of survival and a higher quality of life. But in the prop world, there is no moon base. Instead, people are not able to research space properly and therefore have not found solutions to the problem of climate change. Now, more people are succumbing to the effects of climate change and are falling ill. The death count of people who are succumbing to these illnesses and is rising steadily, and they don't have a solution for it. Also, they are unable to find a new home for humanity, and this is a problem because in the future, people will not be able to escape the sun dying out, and humanity will get burned to a crisp. Also, if we have a moon base, new opportunities for beneficial technology without a new opportunities for beneficial technology will arise. But without a moon base, we can't have those kind of opportunities. No chance to grow. Humanity will steadily get worse and worse. Our side should win this debate because we provided logical reasoning and evidence to back it up. We clearly showed how our impacts will change humanity for better. Our plan provides the best possible outcome and a bright future for humanity. And we are actually doing something about these problems on Earth. Thank you. And this is why I strongly urge an opposition ballot.
All right. Thank you, Vaishant, for a very well presented speech. Now, I would like to present the third proposition speaker, Brian, for the final speech of this debate. Brian, whenever you're ready, take it away.
My time starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, Judge. My name is Brian Fan. Today, I'll be a third speaker for the proposition side of this debate. First, I will refute the opponent. Next, I will summarize our contentions, and I'll go over the two analysis. First, a summarizing of our refutes. We talked about why does it matter if the U.S. wins the space race? We should spend that time and that money finding ways on how to fix out global warming. Plus, if we just have one rocket that gives out a lot of carbon dioxide, that also worsens global warming, which means that worse living conditions for everybody. And plus, so someone died off on billions of years so we can work on this problem later. Right now, we need to work on solving climate change, which is the most important issue and a big threat to our survival. Next, our contention summary. First of all, we talked about this costs a lot of money. Space exploration needs a lot of money to get started. You need money for the rocket, the fuel, the engineering, and plus all the different supplies that you're going to send to the moon. We could be using this money to stop climate change and homelessness back on Earth and improving our life overall. Once we had that done, we can start exploring other places which can help further improve this place. And next, we can talk about unhealthy for astronauts. Astronauts can get a thing called lunar hay fever from the moon dust. This can happen a lot more than astronauts. This can happen to a lot more. This can happen a lot more to astronauts that live on the moon. And when they come back, they can be dealing with a whole new disease in our already crippled nation, which can affect so many people. This can lead to less money spent on global warming and climate change because we need to help stop the virus, such as, for example, COVID-19, where the government spends tons of money on pensions. So we paused a few things such as climate change help. Lastly, climate change. We will need multiple rockets to go to the moon and come back. These rockets will be loaded with building materials, people, and food. People might say we can build a space garden, we can use a feature, but right now space garden technology is not used and it's not ready for use. And plus, all these rockets cause a lot of climate change, which means that more bad living conditions for the people that are still on Earth, which means that it's not good. Next, our tour analysis. Our opponent's side say that if we have a moon base, we won't be focusing on other problems like climate change and homelessness as we are investing our time and money in a moon base that might fail. If we don't help with climate change, then millions of sea and land animals will die and ocean animals will rise. If millions of sea and land animals die, then the ecosystem will not be stable. This will lead to us not having a stable meat food source, which means that we can die out. And the ocean's level rise, then we'll have a greater chance of natural disasters. If this happens, then multiple people can die, such as entire cities. Also, islands can be flooded, causing even more people to die. And if we don't help people who are homeless, that can further worsen the economy and means that people might have more crimes. If we want to help with climate change, then millions of sea animals die. If the oceans Judge, do you want multiple people to die? Probably not, so you should vote for our side of the debate. Now, in our world, we can have the money focusing on climate change and more important issues than a moon base. We can help improve Earth, and then once we got that down, we can go explore into other planets. We can make sure that everybody's happy here, and we can prevent future things like climate change happening. Judge, do you want do you want tons of people to die? Do you want the Earth to cripple? Probably not. So you should vote for our side of this debate. Thank you, Judge, and my time ends now.
Thank you to all debaters for an amazing debate. Just give the judges about 5-ish minutes for us to make our decision. If we finish earlier, we will let you know. Judges, please message me with your decision after you have made one, and we will present that to both the teams and to everybody watching as soon as we get the results. All right, thank you, everybody.
All right. First of all, thank you to everyone for competing. Both teams have done incredibly well, especially coming to finals. And clearly, you have all done a lot in your debate journey and have grown to be extremely good debaters. In fact, I know I have seen some of you in the past and have judged some of your rounds, and clearly both teams have grown a lot throughout their debate journey. And we hope that this tournament was a good experience for you and that you will take the experience from this finals round to your debate journey for the rest of your life. And on to decisions. It was actually a 2-1 decision on the proposition. So congratulations to the proposition and congratulations to the opposition as well. So since I was actually the squirrel, which means that I'm the only one who voted for opposition, I will be giving my feedback first, and then we can go ahead and move on to the other judges. So first of all, I want to congratulate both of you again. Both of you have done an amazing job in this tournament. And also props to getting up really early in the morning to compete in debate over summer. So that's something good. But anyways, getting into feedback, I did have to give it to the opposition on economic development and the possibility of solving real world issues such as disease and climate change that I felt were not adequately refuted by the proposition. And once again, it looks like I'm the squirrel. So overall, one of the largest points left unrefuted, and I think this topic was mainly a wash, was the topic of research. In terms of refuting in the round, as I said before, most things were a wash as none of the refutes really countered the arguments and you kind of were just like saying the same things over and over. However, there were a few contradictions that I felt could have easily been exploited by the proposition. And there actually were a few holes in the opposition case that went unrefuted, which is why I simply had to give it to the opposition, since obviously as a judge, I don't want to put my own thoughts into there. I simply want to judge what I hear in the round. And the first is the space race. The space race wasn't really a big part of this debate. However, it was a contradiction that I caught in the first speech. Basically, the opposition claimed that we needed to win the space race against Russia, but then in Proposition 3 said that, Proposition 3, and then in Opposition 3 then said that we could work together with China and Russia to build the moon base, which you can see is kind of a contradiction, since how can we win the space race against Russia but also work together with them to build that? Additionally, they claimed large economic benefit, however, never told us whether it would outweigh the economic harm of investing into a moon base or not. So my main question here was, of the billions of dollars spent building the moon base, would the economic benefit that you're promising of winning the space race truly outweigh that? Additionally, I really wanted to vote proposition on climate change, because clearly climate change is it's both a short and long-term impact. People are dying today from climate change, and obviously the sun is going to die in billions of years, so we don't really need to worry about that. However, I unfortunately couldn't give you the climate change point simply because you didn't I felt you didn't have the adequate weighing in your third speech to tell me why climate change in your world should be prioritized over, I guess, the sun exploding in the opposition. You could have, in my opinion, you could have used some PMT there and maybe said, I guess, time frame. The time frame of climate change is happening right now. People, for example, in Europe, temperatures are raising up. There's wildfires. This has never been seen before. So clearly that's climate change hitting us. Meanwhile, the sun is going to explode in billions of years. So their time frame is off the chart. If climate change kills us right now, we don't even have to worry about the sun exploding. So that was something I thought there. But overall, once again, I really liked both of your teams. It was super duper hard for me to pick a side, but overall, congratulations to both teams, and especially Proposition for winning. And that's about it for my feedback.
Okay, thank you, Fee. I will go next. I, of course, voted for the proposition as well, or voted for the proposition. And before I get into that, I'd like to again extend my heartiest congratulations to both the teams that have made it here. You have gone through this 8-week program, and we've seen you improve over time with your async debates and your debates in session. And we're all very proud of you for making it through to the end, and congratulations for getting to finals. Okay, so I voted for the proposition, and just like Fee was saying, I kind of share the sentiment. It was very close. I feel like it could have kind of gone either way. but there were a few key points that kind of tipped me toward the proposition. So first of all, the proposition mentioned that it would be too late by the time we get research out of the moon, which I thought was really interesting. And I would have liked a little bit more extension on this later on. Like he was saying, I would have liked a little bit more talk about the time frame. The third speaker did mention that people are like dying right now, and it's going to be, again, like the research will be too late. I would have liked a little bit of weighing against, like Fee said, like basically like the sun ending, it's billions of years and people are dying currently from climate change. However, it was mentioned, so I didn't feel like it would be fair to ignore that. And so I did give you that point, and it was really refuted by the opposition as to why we should prioritize research that might potentially be too late for climate change, to solve climate change, over actual funding for climate change with solutions that we know that work. Additionally, there were, so he also talked about in extraterrestrial life, how it's not very important, we should focus on the present day instead, and he went on to talk about climate change. Again, a little bit of weighing here would have been nice, but again, since it was kind of like mentioned, and he did mention that it would be better to focus on the present day and implying that climate change is present day, because you started talking about that later on, I gave you that bit as well. And the opposition did talk about when the sun dies, we'll have to find like another place to go. But again, that's not really present day, and it was referenced at the very end of the third proposition speech as well. So I gave that time frame bit to the proposition, which was a little bit, I would have liked to see a little bit more weighing on that. It was there, but it would have made it easier to vote for the proposition if there had been a bit more very obvious weighing done on the time frame. I think that would have been easier for you to win. Okay, and yeah, so I thought the most convincing argument on the proposition was the funding, which was the kind of like the main point here, which is like the sort of the cost of funding the moon base is that we can't fund climate change as much. And he talked about like the disease, how we could be dealing with that, and like that would cause more money to be spent on like dealing with the disease and the astronauts on the moon than stuff on Earth, which wasn't really refuted as much. The opposition just said the astronauts signed up for it, but that doesn't mean that we're still not going to spend a ton of money trying to prevent that from happening, because we obviously don't want like people to suffer on the moon. And additionally, the part about needing a ton of shipments for the moon is also unavoidable. And it is true that a lot of these rockets will be used. And so this wasn't really refuted it wasn't really refuted much. They just talked about how it's like very, very beneficial for this. But that still doesn't cancel out the fact that we still are using all those rockets and there's still a lot of fuel being used. And then the proposition at the very end talked about how there's no guarantee of success, and how this can like result, like we know for sure that there will be a ton of unstable ecosystems and no stable food sources, greater chance of natural disasters, but there's no guarantee of success for the moon base. And so that also kind of like made me sway toward the proposition. It was very, very close. Congratulations again to both teams, and good luck on your future debate careers.
Okay, so I'm the last judge who's going to give feedback. So as Fee already told you, I voted for the proposition side. So let's go over how I judge the debate. So when I view the debate, I look at it in sort of a big picture view. So I look at the biggest impacts on each side and compare them to see which side like did the best impact analysis in order to convince me to the debate. So both sides, first of all, I want to start with what each side did really well. Both sides did really well at impacting. I really like how both of you brought the impacts of each side to like their full fruition. I also like that evidence was really nicely used on both sides. You had multiple pieces of evidence per point, etc. And you did a really great job of dealing with POIs, not only effectively, but also professionally, in order to make sure that the debate overall goes really well. Now, let's go into why I voted for the proposition side. So the decision for me for the proposition side boiled down to the fact that impacts for now are more important than impacts for later. This is because the opposition didn't really explain to me why exploration was important in the short term, which the proposition basically said in their third speech, we need to be prioritizing the impacts of climate change and the impacts of homelessness now, because those are the problems that are affecting humanity. Those are causing the deaths right now. And that's why I felt like I should be prioritizing short-term impacts in this debate. Right? So the opposition didn't really explain why exploration was important in the short term. And the only real short-term impacts that the opposition garnered were the fact that moon minerals were able to help solve climate change. However, you were unable to provide an effective example when the proposition asked you for one. On the opposition side, although long-term impacts were made clear, it was made clear by the proposition that impacts 10 million plus years into the future does not matter as much as climate change, homelessness, and deaths happening right now. The opposition also did not answer key questions on why it mattered to win the space race. And as we brought up the contradiction earlier about not only working with Russia, but also compete against Russia for it. However, this does not mean that the proposition did not have some errors in their case. The proposition, you guys may have wanted to focus more on long-term impacts because of the fact that you were winning on the short-term impact level, but in order to make the decision easier for the judge, you might also want to try to prove why the long-term impacts of climate change went off. One example is saying that climate change needs to be solved right now because even if we find new planets, if everybody is driven to extinction because of climate change, there's really no point in exploring these new planets. You can kind of give a sort of a preemptive response. So like, this leads to this, so we need to solve for climate change first, right? Once again, both sides is really well on impacts. Evidence was really nicely sorted on both ends, and great job on POIs. But in the end, my decision falls with the proposition side because of the short-term impact analysis. And this is really proving to everybody in this debate why impact matters so much. Because reasoning, evidence, everything on both sides was pretty much going well for both sides. But what it came down to was how you guys refuted and how you guys managed your impacts. Once again, great job to both teams for making it to finals. Especially congratulations to the proposition side, including Brian, Arnav, and David for winning the tournament. And another congratulations to Shub, Vedant, and Vaishant for making it to finals. Once again, you're all amazing debaters, and I hope you for the best on your debate journey. Thank you everybody for listening to the final round of Advanced/Mastery for the FDE Summer 2022 debate tournament.